Welcome, everyone. If you've ever spent time in the Naruto fandom, you know there are some debates that just never die. Was Sakura really useless? Should Madara have been the final villain? Well, we're diving headfirst into all of it. We're going to explore the community's biggest hot takes, all based on one source that's broken down exactly why these opinions are so divisive. Okay, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and start with one of the most explosive questions in the entire fandom. Seriously, this debate has been raging for years. We're going to circle back to the full breakdown on this one later, but first, let's talk about how we're going to judge all these takes. So here's the deal. Our source has a pretty straightforward grading system for all these opinions. It goes from A, which basically means, yeah, that's a totally valid point, all the way down to E, which is the internet's way of saying, you should never cook again. So with that in mind, let's see what they think. First up, let's get into the characters who live in that murky, gray area between being a hero and, well, being a monster. These are the ones that really make you question what it even means to be good or evil in the shinobi world. A true classic. The source makes a great point here. Yes, Itachi absolutely saved countless lives by stopping a civil war before it even started. But can we really call him a pure hero? I mean, the guy murdered his entire clan, including innocent kids. That doesn't scream hero, it screams anti-hero, and that's a huge difference. And this slide just lays it all out so perfectly. On one hand, you have the hero arguments. He saved the leaf. Even Kakashi saw him as a hero, and he prevented a massive war. But then you look at the other side, and it's brutal. He wiped out his own family. He killed children. His intentions might have been noble, but his methods were absolutely monstrous. So the bottom line is, while the fandom loves to romanticize him, calling Itachi a straight-up hero is a major stretch. That's why the source lands this take right in the middle, with a C for debatable. Okay, now let's talk about maybe the most hated man in the entire series, Danzo. The source brings up a really interesting point. Yeah, the guy was just awful, manipulating the Uchiha, orchestrating attacks, the list goes on. But here's the thing. He genuinely seemed to believe that all of his dark, militaristic actions were absolutely necessary to protect Konoha from the shadows. And this is why the source gives this take an A. They argue that Danzo's twisted logic and the way he exposes the ugly underbelly of Konoha's leadership actually makes him one of the best written and most compelling antagonists in the whole story. He's not good, but he is fascinating. All right, next up, let's dive into some of the big story decisions that fans are still arguing about. You know, the what-ifs that could have changed absolutely everything. Yes, the old switcheroo at the end. Look, a lot of fans felt like Kaguya just came out of nowhere, right? But the source points out she was actually hinted at before her big reveal. Still, they admit that a final showdown with Madara would have felt way more grounded and, as they put it, more Naruto-like. So, at the end of the day, the source slaps a C on this one, because it really just boils down to what you prefer. Do you want that classic Shinobi versus Shinobi finale with Madara, or did you like the sudden jump to cosmic, alien god-level threats with Kaguya? It's a true debate for a reason. Oof, this one still stings. The take is that Neji, a certified prodigy with this incredible backstory about defying fate, died in a way that just felt cheap. And the main reason, it seems, was to push Naruto and Hinata closer together. It basically reduced his powerful character arc to a simple plot device, which, for a lot of fans, totally undermined his whole journey. And yeah, the source pretty much agrees. On one hand, his death did show massive character growth. He finally broke free from his belief in a fixed destiny to save his friends. But the way it happened, the source calls it a bit silly, and you can't really argue with that. It definitely has merit, so it gets a solid B. Okay, now we're getting to a topic that really gets people fired up. Let's talk about the characters who had so much potential, but whose stories felt unfinished or just pushed to the side. The ones who deserved so much more. And the source couldn't agree more. They point out how several key characters, and even whole clans, were just left hanging. I mean, think about the Hyuga. They were set up to be this legendary clan with a dark past, rivaling the Uchiha. But their story and all that internal conflict just kind of faded away. So let's get back to that big question. Was Sakura useless? While the source says, no, not useless, they 100% agree that her potential was totally squandered. She had this awesome start in Shippuden, right? She became a powerhouse medical ninja, she took on Sasori,
And then her story just went backwards. It became all about Sasuke again, and all that incredible development just got sidelined. A classic case of wasted potential. For this one, the source gives a definitive A. Absolutely no debate. Shikamaru's journey from lazy genius to brilliant tactical advisor, especially his arc after Asuma's death, was often way more interesting than what was happening in the main plot. He absolutely deserved more of the spotlight. All right, for our final section, let's zoom out and look at the big picture. We're talking about the takes that look at the series' overall impact, its controversial sequel, and some of its most criticized habits.
Wow, okay, talk about a divisive topic. But the source has a really interesting view here. They argue that the manga for Boruto is actually pretty good. The problem, they say, is the anime. It's bogged down by way too much filler, the animation can be inconsistent, and it just lets the whole franchise down. So because the core story in the manga is strong, the source ultimately disagrees with the idea that the series shouldn't exist at all. They give this one a D, basically saying the potential is there, even if the anime adaptation has been really flawed. The source is right there with the fans on a few other big critiques. Remember when the fights were about clever strategy? The power levels just got out of control, going from skilled ninjas to literal demigods. And the Rinnegan, which used to be this mythical, legendary thing, started popping up everywhere and lost all its mystique. And yeah, the flashbacks. So many flashbacks. We've all been there, right? All totally valid points. So what does all this tell us? That Itachi is a masterclass in moral ambiguity, that Neji deserved better, and that even a series we love has its flaws. But you know what? The passion behind all of these takes, whether you agree with them or not, just shows how much this world and these characters really mean to us. It's a reminder that a truly great story is one that never really ends. It just lives on in the arguments we have about it. Thanks for watching.